Hello, hello. Jamal, what's happening, man?
What's happening, brother? It's good to see you.
Oh, man, it's good to see you too, man. It's been way too long, way too long.
Yes, it has.
All right. It is noon, so welcome everybody to this town hall that we're calling The Kids Are All Right, with a big question mark. So what I would like to do is for each of you to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we're going to have, we already have questions from the audience, and audience members, welcome everybody. And if you have questions, just post them in the Q&A and we will answer your questions. So can we start? Jennifer, would you mind starting?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Singer. I'm the Executive Director of the Friendship Club.
My name is Jamal Walker, and I am a member and co-founder of Creating Communities Beyond Bias.
My name is Hallie Ellis Edwards, and I'm the Director of Programs for NEO.
My name is Tracy Pepper. I'm Executive Director and founder of Color Me Human.
Hello, I'm Curtis McMullen, and I'm the Children's Behavioral Health Therapist and the Clinical Supervisor at Children's Behavioral Health.
My name is Jai Haynes. I'm a youth activist and a youth counselor currently here in Nevada City.
I'm Chris Espedal, Director of School Safety, Nevada County Superintendent of Schools Office.
Melissa, your audio is just terrible. That was just, the electronics effects were great, but we really couldn't hear you. Can you try again?
Nope.
I'll go. Jeff Santos with Talatreca Unified School District, Executive Director, Student Services, and I handle everything from student welfare to mental health, behavior, you name it.
Okay, so what we're going to try and do, Melissa, I would suggest that you try to reboot your device, and maybe that will fix the audio problem, because right now we really can't hear you. The goal of this town hall is to check in about, well, how the kids are doing. I mean, especially for people like me who don't have kids, it's like, what are they doing? And we also get questions because people want to know, can we start out with, can somebody list the mental health resources in Nevada County for teens, especially for low-income families, and also describe the best way to access them? Who wants to take the question?
I can start off with it. This is Curtis.
Please.
McMullen. So I'm with Children's Behavioral Health. We are Medi-Cal funded. We have other ways to come in to receive support through funding, and that's through like First Five. And we have different grants that could be available, but typically we're Medi-Cal funded. The best way to come to us is you can contact us. You can just call in. We have an access line. You can also, your general practitioners refer. We rely heavily with our partnerships in the schools who do a lot of referrals to us as well.
I can go.
Please do.
From the school side of things, I represent a district within the county. So I think a lot of the resources available to students would depend upon access points at schools. Typically those access points might be a school counselor, school psychologist, a wellness liaison of some sort. Some have wellness centers, and that's usually a good entry point if someone wants to access maybe something outside of the school network. Like in our area, we do have several agencies that we do connect with that are nonprofits to provide support. So students come forward or parents, we'll link them up with that.
I can say at the Friendship Club that this has been one of the biggest challenges in wanting to get kids connected to mental health services, especially if they're kind of facing emerging issues around anxiety and depression. And that can be one of the more challenging, it can be challenging to find therapists for that, especially with Medi-Cal. But we have had success working with Sierra Family Therapy and using them as a great referral. And then it has also helped that we help the families through that process to make sure that they understand how to access and help with the paperwork around that. And we've matched 12 kids alone since the pandemic started because they really are reaching out and asking for it. In addition to that, we have peer support programs and things like that that also give them a way to ask for that help. And then we can kind of take it to the next level when needed.
Great. Anyone else who wants to chime in there? Okay, so then let's go to the next question. Since teenagers tend to be risk takers in general, how can you talk to them about the necessary precautions regarding COVID and get them to listen, but also not be alarmist at the same time?
I can take that, Pascal, as far as what we've done
Please do.
from the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools office in collaboration with Nevada County Behavioral Health and some other local agencies is we provided a video of student voices. Rather than the voices of the adults, we provided the video introducing students and how they have been dealing with it, what their feelings were. And I think it was a great asset to our community that they were hearing one another's voices. It was real, vulnerable, and it was a video that I think provided some reassurance to our community that students are having feelings throughout this, and there's help out there for them.
Great.
May I just
Please.
ask that, Pascal? It's this is Tracy Pepper, and it's really wonderful to hear of all of the resources that are available for the youth, particularly during the COV epidemic. But I am really interested in what type of programs are available for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, not only for support for COVID, but also for support in what's happening right now in our communities. I am curious to know what types of programs are available for Black, Indigenous, and people of color generally, and specifically as a result of the unrest and the civil unrest, because they are feeling it, and it's going to amplify when they get back in school.
Maybe Curtis, can you maybe chime in there?
Sure. We're open to children. We're also, with the adults, we have a bilingual therapist in Truckee. We also have bilingual therapists down in the Grass Valley area. So we do meet the needs with Spanish speaking and that culture. We have a treating psychiatrist, child psychiatrist that's excellent with children of all ages and race, what have you. We have open arms and open to serve. I don't know that we have a specific group intended for a particular race or culture, but we're always open to ideas and thoughts of how we can best serve the community.
Great. One idea that I would like to suggest to you is that the schools create a safe space for people of color and Indigenous so that they can support each other and experience their shared feelings. And I think that it's important for them to be able to have someone who is a person of color so that they can be free to express themselves like they do to be able to.
I love that. I love that idea. I like that a lot. That's great.
Yeah, and Tracy, I would just add too, NEO would love to be that resource for the Black youth in our community too. So we're wanting to allow them a space to be able to express themselves, and we're looking for partners to come alongside us because, we don't have all the resources and the tools, but we have a space and we have the relationship with the youth built. And so we're looking for those partners to come alongside us and for together to create something for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. I mean, we're here and willing, interesting. Well, I guess you would say kind of interesting enough. I've been talking to quite a few of my friends who are activists in various arenas between here and LA. Even my own personal friends. We come from the era of the LA riots surrounding around Rodney King, who was from my neighborhood. And for a lot of us, especially men, Black men, we've all been feeling quite a bit of angst, anxiety, knots in our stomach, because here we are again, 20 some odd years later, repeating the same thing. And it's very difficult because, for a lot of California has always been this place where they try to create this so-called melting pot, and it's not what it is. It's water and oil. It's a very segregated state in so many arenas, and the voice of the young Black youth male has not been heard. We do, from our trauma components, have difficulty expressing that. And, I'm definitely putting myself out there to be an aid, to help, to assist with that, to create the dialogue, honest conversation, to go through the pain, because that's what it is, before you can even get to the healing component. And so I'm here in the community. Jamal's here in the community. I think, and I know I'm kind of speaking for Jamal, but I'm sure he's agreed because he's here. We're more than willing and able and ready to step in and to assist with that, because it's definitely needed, specifically in the school systems out here. I've been called on quite a few occasions to deal with various racial components and instances that have occurred in Nevada County, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, as Ms. Pepper said, that by the time school kicks back in, it's going to be a very different dynamic, and we need to address that. I know a lot of kids, Black kids of color, Latino, Native kids that have a lot of angst to going to school because of the situations that are going on in the school system. And they're leaving, they're dropping out, and that's not good. We need to address that. So we're here.
Can everyone hear me?
Melissa, welcome. Would you please?
I just really appreciate Tracy's input also about having different people of different ethnic backgrounds available to communicate with the students. And if there's a way that we could have more information about those resources, it would be great. Additionally, as this is near and dear to my family, I would really love to see the discussion extend to elementary students also. And if there's any way that a mentorship program could be established so that we're pairing youth with the youngers, it would be really wonderful to help build a network within our community.
And that is one of the reasons why we're here today, to actually launch the conversation. And I'm really, really hoping that this is just going to be a kickoff for something where we can all have a really great conversation and with actual results. We may not be able to influence national events, but we definitely can start here in our community, because keep in mind, we all live here, and we will all be here tomorrow and the day after that. So might as well get together and just get the job done. And we have Lisa, one of our attendees, says the Tower Forest Hospital is also a resource for Eastern County for as far as mental health goes. So, and Jamal, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to echo what Jai said, and thank you, brother. Absolutely, I'm here for that purpose too. I've been a member of this community for 30 years now. Moved up here when I was 21, and in addition to my concern that we have Black and brown skin counselors in the schools. But something else that we really need to address at the school level is, we need more teachers. We need more Black and brown skinned teachers in the schools. It's amazing when you look at the statistics, and I don't have them available to me, but how many people, regardless of color, can go through their entire educational years, all the way, from grade school all the way up through high school, and even indeed through college, without even having one Black instructor. So, when you're a kid, regardless of where you live, but especially in our county, you're a kid, a Black kid, all of my kids went through the school system here. And not only, are you going through, just living in a county that's, mostly white, but you don't have any instructors to look at when you go to school that can help inform you. And just to have somebody who looks like you teaching you, the benefit of that is incalculable. It's incalculable. And also for, when we're talking about how do we stem the tide of racial injustice, white kids need to have Black instructors, Black and brown skinned people teaching them, so that they see, in their everyday life, in an environment where you spend half your life in school, with other people teaching you, to be able to get some of that knowledge and get some of that understanding and be in some kind of relationship with Black and brown skinned people on a daily basis, so that you get to learn about different people through, because we learn, what we really learn, what we take to heart is through our relationships. And so there needs to be a commitment on the part of the county itself to do outreach to other areas where we can bring in some teachers from different backgrounds. So the landscape doesn't continue to just be white.
We have Molly, who just posted in the Q&A and saying, the Nevada City School of the Arts desperately wants to start these safe space groups. And so please contact them. And she put Holly Pettit's phone number is right in there. So please reach out, and there's right there, there's a start. And then we have a question, more general question, is can we address social media and screen time consumption, especially TikTok? Nikki says, my daughter is 15 and her friends are averaging from 4 to 10 hours a day in screen time. So is there anything better?
Well, better would be what is provided to them. Just like there's better food options, right? Healthier food options. So we have to provide, as parents, healthier options. I have a 15-year-old daughter. She's homeschooled. She lives in LA, and she spends a lot of screen time. But again, it's been instilled in her to manage her time appropriately, for her to do her schoolwork, and as far as her time as well, to be on. She's not on the social media component yet. We're very cautious of that, but we have to set, healthy limits with their kids. And it's difficult and it's challenging, at these years, formidable years for them. And as parents, we have to work, and the way things are now, some of us are not as home, but we have to set that. And I think if we set the tone and put the extra effort in, and bringing family time back to an importance, which it used to be and it should be, I think it will help curb some of that, and a little bit of tough love too. You have to have that in there. It will help curb a lot of that. These are techie kids, as I like to call them. This is the age of that. This is their normal, right? And we have to accept that. So we have to be able to work within the means. And if you can instill some educational components along the time, and also monitoring their usage, then I think it will help curb it. We're not going to stop it, but it will curb it, because this is the age of information and technology for today's youth.
I think I'd add on though to that. I totally acknowledge that, and I think in a normal environment, those are all things that we do our best to be cognizant of. But they really are lacking connection with each other these days, and I would say in these moments when we are in isolation, that, you know, that is going to be also a balance. It's really important to have that conversation, but recognize that this is actually potentially the only way they have to reach out and be together and with each other. And I think that that's an important nuance in the isolation. So I would just, I would give them a little more probably, and than you would in a typical world during this time. So I just want to add that on.
I would agree with both what you guys are saying there. I think that we have to be very careful. If your child was going to a slumber party, I would like to think that most parents wouldn't just send your child to any slumber party, that you would know who's going to be at that party. And so if your child does need to reach out and have social connections, I think it's important for the caregiver to know who they're connecting with. And there are ways to be able to have boundaries around a phone these days. There is technology that's on the parental side as well of who they can contact and who they can't. I think the bigger concern would be the big world wide web, and there's dangerous relationships and dangerous situations we want to keep the children from being in and being involved in for long periods of time. So being able to structure that to where they do get that social piece of it, but you know who they're socializing with, just like if they were going to the park or going to a friend's house. It shouldn't be any different. Definitely, if you're trying to instill this now and you haven't for years, it's going to be very difficult. So for the parents out there who have younger kids who are just getting into this arena, it's good to come in with a lot of structure and boundaries around the social media and phones.
Yep, Jamel.
One of the things that I've noticed, my kids are all grown now, but I still have a youngster at 19 who just graduated from Nevada Union last year. And one of the things that I did notice with him, because he, hooked in, like Jai was saying, this is how they communicate, the younger generation. It's been here all their lives, really. So it's what they know. It's their normal. Whereas for those of us who are a bit older, we remember a time when we didn't have, the World Wide Web, or it was just a fledgling thing. And, it wasn't our, all day, everyday means of communication. And texting and instant messaging and Instagram and Facebook, and the list goes on. We didn't have all that. So, my son, my kids, my son grew up with all of that, and certainly has been heavily affected by it. And not all good, certainly not all good. A lot of depression, I think, happens for a lot of these youngsters that comes from, being so plugged into social media and everything that brings with it. But one of the things that I can see as sort of being able to use as a catalyst for sparking the conversation with kids about technology and the overuse of it is the COVID issue itself. That not being able to go out and meet with their friends all of a sudden, I think brought some awareness to a lot of young people about how valuable that actual physical face-to-face connection is. And so that can be an entry point for really having that conversation and saying, look, can you see in your own life, now that we're dealing with this pandemic, can you see how valuable that one-on-one physical connection is? And then using that to talk about, the necessity of unplugging, coming off of that. And, you can't go out and engage right now necessarily in large groups. But one of the things that my son did, for example, just to share some practical application, he was working at the movie theaters and developed a really great group of friends that all worked there. And so what they've been doing over the last couple of months, since they haven't been able to work at the movie theater, is they, still utilizing technology, of course, their phones and Instagram or whatever, however they communicate, and getting together. And they will go all just, get in their own cars, go through the drive-through somewhere, grab food, and then sit in the parking lot and put their cars in a circle with all of their, doors open or windows open, and sit there and eat and talk and hang out safely, and so that they could get that connection. So I wish that we had some young people on this panel. I think where I noticed that even in my own work, where I continue to fall short, and certainly not bragging about that, but and I see it here and in all of these different venues where we need to, it's like we have this thing as adults where we want to, set things up for them and kind of figure out what they need, and they pretty much know what the hell they need. And so if we really want to know how to help them, we need to start bringing them into the process and looking at ourselves more as, guides rather than the ones who are supposed to be figuring it all out. And so I want to encourage all of us to take a bigger look at that, we know young people who can, be on these panels and these discussions that can inform us of what their needs are and, how they would like to see those needs met. And then we can be better at being a support system for that.
I wanted to go ahead and jump in. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, first of all, my name is Gami Gonzalez, and I work as a mentor for Gateway Mountain Center. I'm also a case manager for the Latinx clients as well. So yeah, I just wanted to jump in there as far as, screen time and what these kids are up to. But, a lot of people with the coronavirus actually lost jobs and all that good stuff, but others still had to work. For example, some of my clients, their parent, they're really financially struggling. So mom's working all day. Now you have a 13-year-old son at home, 14-year-old, who can kind of play around with time and do whatever they want, right? And nowadays, if you don't have that guidance, most kids are leaning towards, right, like social media, video games, online platforms. And so my approach with them is, okay, like, I know you're doing it already, right? Like, I'm not there. I can't be there 24/7. So I want you to break it up, right? Like, if you're playing, that's fine. But, after half an hour, break it up, maybe do some push-ups, maybe do some sit-ups, maybe go outside for a walk, whatever it is to kind of break up that pattern and come up with a healthier routine, right? But yeah, that's super difficult in these times. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And then the last thing I wanted to share was, we actually at the Gateway Mountain Center, we started a wellness center online on YouTube. And so students can actually check in, and there's all types of videos of, teaching you how to dance a certain thing, or some outdoor journaling, or whatever it is, right? And so that was one approach we took to kind of reach out to some of the families and some of the kids that are around. But yeah, difficult times, but we just have to adapt. But yeah, thanks for the conversation, guys.
Yeah, go for it, Melissa. Hey guys, you are panelists. You don't have to raise your hand. Just unmute yourself and talk. We want to hear from you.
I've been in the schools too long. No. I just thank you so much, everyone, for this input. It's so valuable. It's just really, I'm getting a lot out of it already. And I just wanted to add one more piece to the screen time conversation that has been a little unsettling for me. And it's that we are always, as adults, we're always trying to encourage children to not do things that are harmful to them, and to be educated consumers. And I feel like we kind of have missed the ball in that, with respect to that, as far as being online, and the all of the research that has been coming out over the past 5 to 10 years about the negative impact on brain development from some of the methods of online consumerism. So the more that we can educate our children and children through the schools about how texting has a negative impact on their brain and why that is, then maybe we can connect with some, whereas they're not really here, if they're tuning out whenever we're talking about bullying and the other threats that come with the internet, that maybe a discussion just about science with respect to the impact. We talk about the negative impact of cigarettes and other things like that. And I just would like to encourage folks to learn a little more about what's out there about brain development and usage of technology for kids, and share that out with your kids, or task them with learning more about it.
So one of the questions is specific for the schools, apparently. It's with there's a budget cut coming from the state, so we all know that because, hey, COVID. So traditionally, mental health services are the first to go. So how Nevada County schools, that would probably be a question for Chris and probably Jeff. How are you going to make sure that actually there are not less, but hopefully more services available? And where are the gaps so that people can be prepared and maybe start, so that maybe groups, new groups can fill out the gaps?
So yeah, that's always a concern for us, Pascal, in the school systems. And with these changing times and concerns for budget cuts, there aren't clear-cut answers other than in my position as Director of School Safety, our number one concern is for the health and safety and wellness of our students. I feel that Nevada County has done a really good job in collaborating across the board with our behavioral health and both children and adult services in providing help for our students and our families. And I think Melissa can maybe address some of the things that are in place in our county for students and families right now that are positive. Our SMART team that's already in place that should not be affected by budget cuts. But I believe that as we're learning and moving forward, our superintendent of schools is definitely on board with continuing the wellness push. He's a big promoter of health and wellness, and I think that we can look forward to more initiatives in place. One thing that I can share out is that I'm working on it now, is an initiative through the San Diego County Office of Education, is ensuring that all of our staff across the board in our schools, both charter, public, and private schools, have access to free online suicide prevention and awareness training through Living Works. And it's a free service that we're pushing out to all of our classified and certificated staff. So I don't think that our level of services will change, maybe the funding will change, but our awareness and our desire to provide those services will remain a high priority. But Melissa, I'm going to tag team to you for what's already in place and what will remain in place for families through our SMART team.
Thanks, Chris. I have to share out that we, if there was a 10% cut to mental health services statewide, the schools would not be able to absorb that impact. We currently, we are having challenges meeting the needs as they are right now. I'm a member of the Pupil Personnel Services Coalition at the state level, and that group consists of leadership from school psychologists, school counselors, and school nurses, a variety of other service provision folks through the school system. And one thing that has been brought to light is that the State Department of Education doesn't even have a key contact right now with respect to, they don't have a school counselor to support on staff at the State Department level to support school counselors within the entire state of California. There is no department, nothing of that nature. So there are lots of conversation around that issue right now. And as Chris mentioned, we're very fortunate to have positive collaborations within Nevada County that don't exist in other counties. Currently, we do trainings for school staff in order to how to make direct referrals to behavioral health. We work with behavioral health and to have them coach us as far as what they'd like the referral process to look like as far as a warm handoff. And we have weekly meetings to support families who are feeling that they're in need of services and they're not sure where to begin. Those are called SMART team meetings. They're special multi-agency resource team meetings. They convene for roughly 3 hours per week, every Wednesday, children's behavioral health, child welfare, probation, the schools, CalWorks, and a variety of other agencies are at the table every week to really have families guide them with respect to what their needs are and how we can work as a collective throughout the county to get those supports in place for families and really meet people where they're at.
Great. And on the east side, how is that working?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yep. Excuse me. I would say anything regarding budget in schools is nothing new. I think it goes in waves. We have years of positive revenue and resources, and other years that we have to be creative. And I think we're in one of those times now where we're forced to be resourceful and creative with what we have or don't have. It's on the forefront in our district in particular, just because as a mountain community, we tend to see spikes in suicide attempts, overdose attempts, and we just encompass everything into what we call social emotional learning. We're fortunate that we contract with various agencies within our area, like Gami mentioned, Gateway Mountain Center, Tahoe Forest Hospital, Victor, and I know I'm missing people, so I apologize to those groups, but in that sense, we all rally together and look at ways to offer supports. I think internally within the schools, our staff continue to receive any sort of training that they can use in classrooms regarding trauma, anything regarding mindfulness, anything regarding restorative practices. Knowing the signs is another big training. So anything around the social emotional component, giving our teachers and staff the tools to recognize the need, but also providing that support. And I think lastly, one of our bigger pushes, I think, is, it's mostly around anything regarding social emotional learning, especially with this distance learning. So starting that planning for next year for our students returning, if it is a traditional brick and mortar setting, or if we're going to distance learning, we're anticipating that students are already struggling. It will be coming back with additional struggles with the way things are going. So making sure our staff are equipped. And then the last component, I think all of you probably touched on or know about, is how do we address this and work with our parents? We have a lot of single parents. We have a lot of parents that they don't know what to do. So equipping them, making sure that they have the resources as well. So I think creativity and being resourceful and maximizing what we have.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, as Jamal mentioned earlier, we really need to have the youth in this discussion with us and to see them as a resource. And especially in regards to suicide prevention training, we try to train our youth leaders at NEO in that, so that if they identify a peer at risk, they can refer them to us and then be able to get them the help that they need and connect them to different services. So I would love just in the coming year to see more youth trained and to give them the tools that they need to support their fellow peers and classmates.
That's a good
tag on to that too, because at Friendship Club, we started our peer helper program, and that has been incredibly important internally with older girls reaching out to younger girls and things like that. But we had always hoped that over time that could really grow, and that once they are trained, they can be supports to their peers, no matter where they are. And so I think I know Hallie and I and Friendship Club and NEO are talking a lot about partnerships and where we can support each other and leverage each other in those types of environments, because the school day is the school day, and then there's after school and summer, and there's so much that happens outside of school, and we all want to be a support to what happens at school, so that they're hearing similar messages outside of school, that they know there is a support network, that schools know there are places to refer kids in need, and help let us kind of help pick up the ball on that, on those off hours when they're not in instruction.
Our district, I don't know if anybody is familiar with, but we're looking at adopting a program for next year called the Hope Squad. And essentially it's training exactly what you're describing, a group of peer leaders around mental health, suicide awareness, any internal challenges, and ways that peers can offer that support. They might feel more comfortable going to an older peer or a peer in general, rather than maybe going to an adult. So looking at every way that students can access different points of support.
I shared in the chat, via the chat, Sources of Strength is a student peer-led program that's excellent, and we have had that in Nevada County in the past. It needs to be beefed up a little bit, but it is an excellent way to point our students to identify strengths in their life that they can rely on, whether it's trusted adults or athletics or whatever interests them, but strengths that shift their focus from the negativity in their life to what they do have that's positive. And I think that we're going to have to really rely on our youth to promote this. They're the voice that we need to hear from.
And also just to add that behavioral health, we have several funding sources into the schools as well. We have MHSA, which is a state funding stream that goes directly through us into the schools as well. So there's a lot of different avenues that we utilize, and we have done it for many years, and we foresee continue doing that as well.
Excellent. We have one of our attendees says, "Hi, my name is Joanna, and I am with Sierra Community House. I'm the youngest of our agency, being 20. As a teenager, how can I get more informed about all the info and services you all offer?" And I think that's, well, if each and every one of you, if you could send me either contact info, website, social media, because we really want to make that available, because yeah, I mean, my gray hair definitely does not qualify me to talk about teens, so I am fully aware of that. And we have another question that is, can you also discuss about what is going on politically with teenagers and how it is currently affecting them? So the general situation right now and how it is affecting them. If anybody has insights, love to hear them.
Pascal, I think that the video that I referred to earlier, one of our teen leaders in Community Emergency Response Team, she was our incident commander with the Nevada Union CERT team. She spoke on that video and talked about how these times are affecting her. And being totally honest, it's tough. It's tough for these kids. They're missing graduations and proms and things that are times in our life that we look back on fondly, and yet these times they have no control over. And I think that just that awareness that we can't let this go as, oh, well, it is what it is, but rather to validate the feelings that our students are having. And I think that we have recognized that in Nevada County, and the Office of Emergency Services, in collaboration with many of the agencies here, are trying to do things to honor those students, all students, not just graduates, but all students that are missing out on some of the celebratory things that we do regularly. But our teens are struggling, and we can't ignore their feelings, but need to validate and find ways to do that effectively.
I have adult children, 2 of which are mixed race, and I have 5 mixed race grandchildren. I had an opportunity to speak to my 15-year-old granddaughter to try to feel her out on how she's feeling. And in response to the question how it's impacting, I know that what she said is that on a normal basis, when she is at her school, which is a predominantly white school, because she looks white, she doesn't know how to fit in. And she hears comments from the whites about Mexicans and blacks, and white, which is what she is. And then she doesn't feel like she fits in. And she expressed that she didn't really want to go back because she knew that it might even be exacerbated. So that is one way that our children are being impacted. So I would encourage that there be a thread, that there be a knowledge and an awareness that this is going through our children's minds, our teens' minds. It's not just the minds of the Black and Indigenous people of color. It's also on the minds of our young white community members. And it's important for all of us to acknowledge that.
And Tracy, I think that's such an important point that it goes beyond the teens. It's all the way down to our elementary school children. We have to start there and work our way up.
I think that in light of, what I'm listening to, in our conversation about how the youth are being impacted by all this, and by all this, I mean, the pandemic and, all the isolation and quarantining, social distancing, as well as everything that has taken place with this latest murder of a Black man, George Floyd, and all the protests that are going on nationwide as a result of that. There is so much going on. I know that, like, I'm on overload a little bit myself as an adult. I can't imagine what it's like for these young people. And speaking about going back into the schools, I think that we would be remiss as adults and, people working within the school system, all of us as community members, as adults, to not be talking about some type of re-entry program for these young people at every level, just like it was spoken, not just the teenagers, but even all the way down to the grade schoolers. There needs to be some type of re-entry program, and to like deal with this stuff right as they're coming back into school, understanding that they're going to be carrying the weight of all of this stuff the moment they come back onto campus, and looking at all the different ways that that's going to look, how it's going to look for white kids, how it's going to look for Black kids. And Tracy mentioned mixed heritage. Our mixed heritage kids often they fall through the cracks just as bad as anybody else. My two youngest kids are mixed, Black and white, and they often, just like Tracy said, they don't fit anywhere, or people don't recognize or acknowledge that they have the backgrounds that they do. So they're like, this kind of silent, forgotten about group of kids. And so it's a big task, but we should probably get on it now, get cracking, because
Absolutely.
Otherwise we're inviting a whole lot more strife and stress, a whole lot more depression than these kids are already experiencing. If those issues don't get addressed the moment that they set foot back in school, it's going to be problems for everybody.
Just wanted to share out that earlier this week, I believe Monday and Tuesday, the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools Office did host a variety of webinars, Zoom meetings, I guess you could call it, where there were over 130 participants overall within the 3 calls. And it was specifically to address social emotional learning and COVID and reentry. And while we did discuss the racial dynamics, I think that that conversation is going to be expanded upon, because when it was first set up, it was primarily set up to address COVID reentry overall, without the new all the new elements that have come into play. And so I'm hopeful, because a lot of that dialogue is starting and getting folks thinking about it. There was one just for teachers, one just for administrators and counselors, and then there was I can't remember what the third was, but those conversations are happening, and we're relying on experts outside of our area to guide some of those conversations for us.
And may I add that I'd like to take the opportunity to reach out to Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the community, and inform them that Color Me Human is having a gathering on Zoom on Sunday at 5 to come together, to connect, and also to discuss issues about our children and our concerns about our children. So I'd like to get that out there. So if you are a person of color, Indigenous, or Black, please contact colormehuman.org, and we will send the Zoom link to you.
Yeah, I mean, the world has been thrown for a loop. I think we're all aware of that. One moment we're dealing with COVID issues, and next thing you know, we're going right back into our core problem, which is racism in America as a whole. The world has spoken. The entire world is now speaking on this issue. We're always, America, as we brag and boast of having these great resources and the wealthiest country, we lack in this area when it comes to education in our school systems on the issue, also in how we educate our children. And here we are, a small town with a group of people here right now that have the opportunity to make an impact and a difference to the population that we're serving right now and to our children in this particular area. And we need to get on that, like Jamal said, like Ms. Pepper said, it needs to be done. If you do not do it, then you're just feeding, and we're just feeding into the cause, or continue to feed into the problem at hand. We are here, we are available. Highly suggesting people to take my information. You can get it from Pascal, email, whatever you need. But there is no more room for excuses. From the time that I moved to this community, I've been here for 5 years. And as soon as people found out what I do for a living in regards to working with at-risk youth and group homes and so forth, one of the first things they said, including the youth themselves, we have problems in the school systems, okay? The teachers lack the ability or the skill set or the knowledge base to address these racial issues. That's fine, but let's get educated and let's talk about it and let's make it a dialogue. Because every single one of these kids in the community, I hear them all day playing NWA and every hip hop and Dre album that you could think of, and every athletic jersey that they're wearing is someone that's of color, from soccer to basketball. So that tells me it's not so much of an ingrained hate thing, it's an education of what they were taught. And they're ready to be re-educated, and they want to know and they want to learn and they have questions about it. And we are here to help with that. So this is a challenge to everyone. Who's going to step up to the plate, and let's get together and let's look at this and let's address it as a community and as a whole, you know.
State Superintendent of Schools, Tony Thurman, has made a reference to trainings that he will be pushing out. Hopefully we will be seeing those prior to reopening of schools. But I think that it would be important for each of us to reach out to him with what our expectations are, what our desires would be, what that type of curriculum would look like.
I agree. And well said, Jai, on your comment. I just want to add too that we are right now reaching out to the different schools, Eastern County schools. We have some in-service on the books where behavioral health is going to come in and help support the teachers, and specifically looking at the reentry piece. We're going to be looking at depression, possible suicidal ideations, anxiety, and I love these ideas. I love to bring more of if there's the racial tension piece. I mean, everything has a place within anxiety and depression, and we need a clean house and be able to look at everything that could be promoting that. And I do think it does begin with educating and supporting our teachers. They're amazing people and they're with the kids all the time. And so they're just a great, rich resource for the adults, but also for the children as well.
Yeah, I'd also like to say that, it's important for us to take a look at, when we talk about experts, bringing in their information on how to do this stuff. First of all, to question the term expert and what does that mean? Expert says who, and be prepared to make amendments to whatever is given based on the people that we're serving. And I would also like to make the assumption, to make the statement that we have plenty of experts in our own county, plenty of experts who may not have titles, but have lots of experience in these areas that we're talking about. We have the resources, we just need to reach out to them locally as well. That's not to say that people who spent years researching and working and studying are not of value. I don't want to give off that impression at all, but let's not forget that we have plenty of people who may not have degrees, may only even have a high school diploma, that have plenty of expertise in a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. And we need to make sure that we avail ourselves of those resources as well, and make sure that we not amend necessarily, but also just tailor whatever's coming in to the people that we're serving.
Absolutely. And we got a couple of questions for people asking, hey, is this group going to continue? Is there a way to jump in? So I'm really hoping that this is not just going to be a one-off conversation and then, okay, jump on the next Zoom meeting, so but that we actually can, I would love to report out in a month or so about what came out of this and how it's going on. There are also questions of, do you think we can ever get back to schooling in the same sense that it was both from social point of view and educational? And I would like to add that not only adding more awareness components maybe in curricula, but and be really inclusive, because Native American, African American, LGBTQ kids, everybody they all go to school. We all live here, so can we please just treat everybody with the respect that we would get?
Thank you, Pascal. And I might add also that our organization if you have LGBTQ person that you'd like to refer to Color Me Human, that is, we're working with that group as well. We've got on our team Latinos and queer women and others who are available to them should they need to have someone to talk with.
Yeah, because you may not be able to tell because no different color. I mean, although I would love the rainbow color, I would be very happy to wear that. But yeah, we are out there too.
I'll be honest, as an educator, I always, this is the time of year that I get a little restless and nervous. We go into sort of a quiet state for a few months with our students of not being, accessible, if you will, and losing any momentum of anything that we've been working on. So I think what I'm hearing is, as far as we go as a district, really looking at what we can do to continue this momentum through the summer. I don't necessarily have the answers, but I do have some amazing teammates that we're looking at ways that we can continue to connect with our students, especially if they have questions regarding what's going on with the current situation with the murder of George Floyd, and how they can continue to protest in ways, voice their concerns and their opinions about things in a peaceful manner, and educating them as well as our staff. So I know as an educator, we're kind of going to this season now of a little slower period, but how can we keep this momentum moving forward too? And again, I don't have the answers per se, but looking at ways that we can support our youth and families.
I would like to make the suggestion and the request that we do another one of these webinars as quickly as possible, within the next week, next 2 weeks, no longer than 2 weeks, and that we all do what we can to bring young people into this webinar, into this conversation. To me, that's the first thing that we need to do, and that we're totally capable of doing. And we need to make the time. We need to make the time.
Okay, then. Yeah, let's do it. Actually, next Tuesday evening, from 6 p.m. to whenever. I've been talking to my other media colleagues because it's hard for agencies and government to say, oh, there's stuff going on, we need to talk about it. But as media, it's our job to tell people what's going on and to also to listen. So here's the open invite to all of you and to everybody who sees or hears this. Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock until we're done. Please come. Please tell us how you feel. Tell us what bugs you. And let's try to listen to each other and if we could get young people, that would be really amazing because for a lot of us, maybe what happens in 20 years doesn't matter, but it sure as hell matters for the young kids.
Yeah, Pascal, if you could give me some kind of press release on what that is, I'm happy to send it out to the school administrators to push out to the students.
It will be in your various inboxes a couple hours after we're done with this one.
Okay, so you're going to send that out to all the panelists?
Oh, yep. Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pascal.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jamal,
it's our job. I mean, it's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we appreciate you
Yes.
and those of your profession. Thank you.
I interrupted somebody very rudely, and I apologize. Who did I interrupt?
No, I was just gonna go off of what Jamal was saying, that again, sitting in through school board meetings, let's face it, yeah, sometimes they're board meetings, but some of the most meaningful meetings are when we have our student panel and we're able to actually hear the voice of our youth, what their experiences have been like in our school system, what it's like to be a youth these days. So that's all I was just gonna essentially validate what Jamal's saying. So thank you.
And I have a few more questions. One question is, there's a Neo sign on the Alpha building. What's that all about?
Yeah, so that is actually just an old poster promoting our drop-in hours for our current space. So yeah, nothing going on there. However, it is a really cool site right downtown. So yeah.
And a question from a harried parent who's just asking, how are the families managing to find some sort of balance between safe social distancing and the need to connect with friends? So basically, anybody get any tips or tricks to do this and do it safely?
I think as far as maintaining the safety there, I tend to meet up with some of my clients, just meet up wherever, local outdoor parks, meet me halfway, we'll get there and we can still hang out and we can still practice mindfulness, we could still connect, we could still support each other, and at the same time we will still maintain the safety, obviously, masks, all that good stuff too, to keep in mind and practice all that good stuff. But yeah, meeting up.
And I think also for those of us who run camps and great activities for kids, I mean, this is why we're so waiting with bated breath to hear what the governor has to say about when we can get that going. Taking the precautions, giving them a safe space to have that outlet, I think would go a long way in being able to offer those kids an opportunity to do that. I know we can't fix that today here, but I know we would all appreciate our camps getting back for our kids and knowing that they're in a safe environment, that we'll be kind of using precautions, but they're out, they're walking around, they're doing it. So we may as well give them a safe space to do it.
I sympathize. Oh, sorry. Harried parent, because I have a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a newborn as of April 22nd. And my husband and I have also been trying to work from home. And so for all of the parents working at home whose children have also been home, and like I haven't even been to a grocery store since before March 13th, I feel you. And all I can say is that this is a wonderful opportunity to have real human conversations with your children about what this experience is like for you. And that it's okay that we have this roller coaster of emotions about different things. And that when we have to make choices that are not, that of course I want to be with my friends too, and I want to be doing things, but we can't really risk that with an infant in the home. It's challenging, and a lot of families are struggling. I mean, we're seeing domestic violence rates shoot up, and I'm sure divorce rates are going to go up. And but there are some social avenues via media that everyone can take advantage of. I know that within our own community, our faith-based community is they're trying to do things to promote connection as well as the nonprofits in our area and the schools. So, you know, we have school counselors who, in an effort to connect with students, are you know, have delivered meals or have done. I mean, we're in a really interesting time, but hang in there, harried parent. I just, you're not alone.
I just wanted to add too, if you are someone out there that doesn't have to face this with your own kid, but would like to be supportive of those kids who are there, there are opportunities to get involved in mentorship and things like that, even in these moments. It's kind of a little different and it's Zoomy, but I know Kimberly Ewing, who is on this call, has been kind of individually coaching a few of our students at Friendship Club, and they're making connection and they're having a nice time. And it's just an opportunity to check in. And sometimes there's academic support, but sometimes it's just a connection. And so there are plenty of ways to get involved now. And then when things open up, we need mentors. We need people who are willing to spend time with youth. And, you know, we all get busy with our days and our lives, but that creating those connections and support are kind of, it's just really the foundation, what all of them need. And then knowing they have safe people to talk to. So that would be a call out to anyone who's ever thought about getting involved in mentorship or volunteering or just to learn more. I know NEO has opportunities. We certainly do. Big Brothers Big Sisters is out there, needs mentors. You know, we always are looking for concerned and supportive adults too.
Okay.
Pascal, I wondered if you might promote one social activity that's coming up this week in the car hop that will be honoring students throughout our community. Maybe I think you have all the information on that, and share that out for a fun activity that parents can do that will honor students and end of the year as well.
Yep, the car hop is from 11 to 3 at the Nevada County Road Center, and yeah, there's going to be a special lane for the graduates, and so that's please stay in your cars, but I can assure you it's going to be fun. And I would also like to give a shout out to the libraries, because I've seen in here in the Q&A and in the webinar chat a lot of our librarians who are like, hey, by the way, we have programs, we have this, we have that. So I'll try and pull all this stuff together, and again, we'll post all the resources. And Tuesday we will definitely continue this conversation, because we are so not done, because it's time to talk about what's going on. But if possible, the only guideline I would like to give for Tuesday is that we focus on what we can do here in Nevada County. We have there's so much stuff going on everywhere, but if we can focus on how we can help our community, what we can do for our community, that would be really the thing. And young people, I mean, please reach out. I'll send the release out as soon as I can, and then we will take it from there and we'll listen. Closing statements, comments, wishes from anybody, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody. I have to sign off. Speaking of training, I'm training a class right now. Want to thank everybody for the opportunity. Let's all definitely connect. Let's keep the movement going. Let's be progressive. Let's focus on our community. And as everyone is stating, and let's make that our effort. And that meeting, I plan on trying to bring as many youth as I possibly can to join that. Myself and Jamal are both DJs into music. That is one of the best ways of connecting with kids and students, using music and arts as a medium. You know, so we are here, we are ready. Let's do it. Again, I believe Ms. Pepper and Pascal has my information if anyone is interested. And you know, we'll be ready to do it again, you know, and keep it going. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the comments, and it's good to see the people in the community within the resources and all that. So this is awesome. I'm definitely privileged to be part of this. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good day.
Thank you. I'd just like to, as a finishing comment, say that I've been in Nevada County for 7 years now, 4 in Grass Valley and 2 in the Truckee area. And I am here because this is truly a unique place. It is special place with different, with unique characteristics, and it's worth it to do the work that we're doing. And I have faith and I have hope that that we'll all be able to work together and make this and make positive change. And I'll also add that Color Me Human is beginning a project to do a survey in Nevada County of race and relations and attitudes. We are just beginning that, and we could really use help. So if you are interested and if you have the expertise, please reach out so that we can find out and take a pulse of how the community truly feels about race and relations in this community. And thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Jamal and Jai, who's gone, and everyone else. And thank you, Pascal, for putting this together.
Yes.
All right. I should take this moment to let everyone know that I have started a project that I am calling the Love Heart Project. And in this, what I'm doing is I am interviewing white allies of Black and brown skinned people over Zoom, just one-on-one interviews for folks to share their hearts about how they feel about Black and brown skinned people, how they feel about everything that's going on right now and has been going on, but with the culmination of the George Floyd murder and all of the protesting, and it seems like people are really starting to wake up. So I'm doing these interviews with several different people, and anyone is welcome if you consider yourself to be an ally to Black and brown skinned people. I'm focusing specifically right now on white allies. And then I'm going to be posting those videos on different social media platforms. So I'm recording them on Zoom and then posting them. So if you'd like to be a part of the Love Heart Project, you can get a hold of me through my email, jamalsings@gmail.com.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, if everybody has said what they wanted to say, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for starting this conversation. I really hope to see more of you on Tuesday evening, and let's keep the conversation going. And again, we'll post the resources that came out of this so that people can reference. And really, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pascal.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pascal.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.